Welcome to Crypto BS. I'm Al.
And I'm Craig.
And welcome to the show. Craig, did you have a good weekend?
Pretty uneventful.
Is that because you got into ETH or you didn't get into ETH?
I did not get into my ETH short. I had other plans, and I have a wife that takes up all of my time. So I missed both opportunities to get into my ETH short this weekend.
You made the call on the last show to go with ETH. That you're going to short ETH once it hits $2,000. Not once, but twice.
And then I didn't.
And then you didn't do it. Okay.
So I'm a loser.
That was pretty hateful. I got to tell you.
It's the truth, though.
Okay.
I have less money now than I did last week.
I did get into an ETH short. I just didn't keep it long enough, but I did make a little on it. But I waited to the 1950, which is what my recommendation was. And once it broke under the 1937 is where I got in, then got back out just over 1900. So I got a little bit on it, but should have waited because now we're down well under 18. We're 1860 right now. So
yeah, I'm seeing a pretty good support at 18, low 18s. It seems to be consolidating between 1820, 1880.
I've got it at 1822 and 1920 would be where I would go on for another short.
You want to short it at 1920? See, I'm thinking it's due for a bounce back up, especially with, the impending merge that you don't believe will happen in September.
I've seen them fail too many times. I'm on a prove it deal now, so
maybe I'll long it later today just because.
Are you going to get out of one of your bots, or are you just going to is that what you're going to use your 100 for the challenge on?
I'm going to use my 100 from last week and this week.
Ooh, double down.
I'll long it right now.
Breaking news, Craig is going to long ETH right now.
Craig is longing ETH as we speak.
Unbelievable. Well, while you're getting dialed in to put in your order, I'll tell our people a little bit about the challenge. So Craig and I have a weekly challenge. $100 that we're going to allocate to our trading account. Once it's in the account, we can do whatever we want with it. We can buy, sell, we can bot it, which is one of Craig's favorite. We can leverage it, which is one of my favorites. Or we can just hold on to it, put it on the sideline and wait for something good to come along, which is what I did last week. And I used my 100 to get into AVAX. I bought 4 AVAX and took a little bit from my trading account. My total entry there was 104.13, and I bought 4 AVAX. And that brings my total up to 1138 as we start today. I've got 709 in my margin. I've got 104 Matic. I've got 208 ADA that I currently have both of those in a staking fund. And I've still got my Gary, which is up over $6.
Oh, over 6, you say?
I don't even know what to do. I mean, we've got that's a holdover from a wager that Craig and I had on Gary versus Burger roughly 2 months ago. We put in a little wager on that, and I got my face kicked in.
Sounds about right.
But anyhow, looking pretty good right now. Like I said, I've got my next 100 just hit, and that brings me up to 1138. And I'm not sure what I'm going to do with mine for this week. I may go another run on AVAX. I'm kind of liking it right now. I'm watching Cardona. I see a little support with it around 53 cents. I could roll with that one more time. Link is one of my standing favorites. I do like it long term, even though I still believe that we're going to have a pretty substantial pullback here in the next 3 or 4 months. But Link is roughly moving between $7.95 and $8.22. Near, I like Near in the long term. If it hit about 520, 525, I would look at going in to short it, and I'd be getting out at about $4.65. But right now, I don't see any reason to really get in for anything else. I'm seeing some support for THETA around $1.38, but not a lot of interest until it gets down there. Market's pretty choppy right now, and I am not super pumped about really anything right now until there's a good move. We're still waiting on the ETH merge, which Craig firmly believes is going to happen on September the 15th. But there was a little bit of news about that came out today with Coinbase, that they're going to suspend all trading during that merge period. So if you have a Coinbase account and you've got ETH in it, just know that when that merge starts, you're not going to be able to do anything with it, that's not uncommon, so it's not that big of a deal. Greg, you still using Coinbase for anything?
No, not really. I mean, no. The answer is no.
That's typically one that I use for my onboarding on getting some into the market, that or Crow. But other than that, I'm not doing anything with it either. And therefore, I don't have a whole lot of interest in getting into the stock. It had a pretty good run up last week with the BlackRock news, but I think it hit around $96, $97, but it's back around $85 right now. I think long term it could be good because they're still making a lot of money. If they can get their NFT stuff squared away and quit losing money on it, they'll be all right. But other than that, there's not a lot of world news out there. There's a little bit of news with Europe. Natural gas is still a problem. They had some information came out on their core interest or inflation rate, which is up considerably. That may bleed over into some of our markets, but I don't know how much it's really going to affect the crypto market. It may affect the stock markets, and then in turn have the crypto markets as a secondary effect. But FOMC meeting was yesterday, but it was a big nothing burger. There's no surprises in there. A little bit of Ripple news. They are interested in purchasing Celsius. Craig, you think that's a good idea? What do you think about that? If Ripple went in and purchased Celsius and used them as their new trading platform?
I think that's a terrible idea.
Why?
Because trust is gold right now in crypto, and I feel like Celsius has lost the trust of millions of users, and Ripple putting money into that just seems like a bad idea.
Well, I think it'd be really awesome for them to have that as their own platform, basically, and being able to buy and sell and support whatever they wanted to with that platform. I don't think it's a good idea for them to keep the name of it, but it depends on how they used it and what they were doing with it. I don't know, but I also wonder, it wasn't too long after that I don't know exactly how it came out, but Celsius doesn't owe $2 billion. They owe $2.8 billion. So I don't know that Ripple's going to go in after that. But Celsius has had a pretty good little run up. The Cell token is up 20%. If I could short it on KuCoin, I'd short it right now.
That was going to be my first question. It was, do we short it?
I would short it, but like I said, it's not available on KuCoin, so I might be able to do it on FTX or something like that. But it's not on KuCoin, but I would definitely short it. I think there's going to be a squeeze on there. I don't think that they're going anywhere. I don't think that it's going to go up. They're not doing anything positive unless Ripple sells. That's the only positive news with this whole thing. Other than that, they're blowing through what funds they've got left. I don't know how they're going to. I don't know how the bankruptcy thing is going to function, other than those of us that have a Celsius account are going to get screwed. But other than that, they're just burning through all of our funds that we had on there. Really, you had the developer of Tornado Cash. He got arrested there in Switzerland or wherever it was, Norway. I don't know, but he got arrested for developing something that other people were using nefariously. Pretty crappy. I mean, especially when you've got these other people like Do Kwon and Machinsky from Celsius that have basically rug pulled everybody, lost them millions of dollars and billions of dollars, and then you've got this guy who writes code and is being arrested for how the code is being used. I think it's pretty crappy.
Alan, I have breaking news for you.
Do tell.
Did you see Gary today? The chart?
I haven't seen Gary since I saw it earlier this morning or yesterday. That's how it was it.
I'm going to show you the Gary chart.
Oh, come on.
And I want you to tell me what you see here.
Nice little rip. I wish I would have bought back in, but it's still not anywhere close. I think I bought it around 13 cents. It's currently at 9.
Do we short it?
Ugh.
Do I get rid of this ETH long that I just opened up and short Gary with it instead?
Man, you could. Bull. And I moved over to the 8 hour. Man, don't look at it on the 8 hour. You'll short it right now.
Yeah, guys, it's time to short. Let's get rid of this ETH long.
My!
I got to start moving money around again. Okay.
You're insane.
I'm in a fun mood.
Okay, so here's where we're at right now. Craig has taken out an ETH long, closed an ETH long, and is working on a Gary short. I don't know about all this.
It's going to be okay.
Can you do two things at once? Because I've got a question about your 50,000% pool. How'd that work out? Don't look at me like that. Quit rolling your eyes.
That pool. I'm sorry. I'm just over here trying to make money, you know.
Well, it is something that we talked about a couple weeks ago. You put in a small investment playing around with escrow and crow liquidity pool and threw some money in there. You were earning 50,000% interest for a short period of time, rapidly dropped over the next 24 to 72 hours. And then where are we at?
Well, I don't know what this escrow was, but this was definitely a screw it, let's have some fun situation at 50,000% APY. But escrow went from $32-ish a token to about $6 in 1 week. And that resulted in me losing more than half of the money I had put into it. Thankfully, it was play money, but it was real money, but it's money I was playing with. But still a punch to the gut.
Well, you know, it's one of the things that we talked about a couple weeks ago was how much money do you use as extremely high risk, high reward versus what do you use for that sustainable gain? And was that from your trading account or was that from your private account?
That was from the private account.
Okay. So I'm assuming at that point it wasn't very much. Could you have done it with your trading account at that time?
No.
Okay.
I would have had to shuffle it over to a different platform.
Yeah, but would it have been enough? I don't know what you invested into it, but versus the $200 or $300 that you currently had in your account at that time.
Sure, I could have done it with the challenge account.
Okay.
But I didn't.
You weren't willing to take that big of a risk with the challenge account.
No, I'm going much more conservative with the challenge account.
At what point are you going to load up and go with it? Because right now, would you say you're being 100% conservative with your bots?
Not 100%. I think the more conservative approach would be to have it into a farm paired with a stable coin so that there's some gain but a lesser loss. Heck, even more, I could if I really wanted to be conservative, I would just stake it in stable coins and take a small percent interest. But
you can't get to $150,000 off $100
but if
a
we're
week.
going to go from a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being all stable coins getting interest and 10 being 50,000% interest pools, I'm sitting at about a 3 to 4. We'll call it a 3.5. A 4. We'll call it a 4.
I can't believe you're going to half that and go with 3.5. So where are you at right now on your total investment? You've got, this is our week 8. So you've got 600 that you'd put into the bots. You've got your 200 that you're playing with between the last 2 weeks. And you're fixing to load up into a Gary short. Are you going to use all 200 to short Gary with?
Yep.
Woo! You're not going to wait for a retest?
Never. I'm in.
Oh my gosh.
Actually, okay. I couldn't find a way to move into the Gary margin account. I don't know. I have to try this again. I think KuCoin's trying to give me a sign that this is a bad idea.
I gave you a sign this is a bad idea. I think we should wait for what happened to rule number 1? Be patient.
It's out the window today.
Craig, you're not following, like we have these rules established for a reason. And it's so you don't get burned by loading up into a Gary short or a 50,000% LP token that crashes and burns.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I really cannot find a way to get money into the Gary account. This is odd. I am let down, Alan.
Well, I'm sure if there's a way to get it in there, you'll do it. But so if the Gary fails, what are you going to do with your 200 this week?
I'm still looking at ETH. Heck, if I would have kept my ETH short, it's already up $20 since we've been sitting here. Or ETH
Gary
long.
ETH long.
Yeah. Now that equates to all of 1%.
Yeah, but if you would have 3 or 5x margined it, it would have been considerable.
I mean, even at 3, it'd be 3%, and on 200, I'd be up $6 right now. I'd be up your Gary holdings.
Well, I've got to recheck to see where I'm at on Gary as it is right now. Let's see here. Oh yeah, I'm at $6.23. I'm absolutely killing it with Gary. So now I'm only down, I don't know, 36% on my $10 investment into the train wreck we call Gary. So Craig, anything else that you're looking at? I mentioned for me, ADA, if it hit 53 cents as my support, be looking at a place I would get in. But is there anything that is screaming to you to long or to short? Any prices to be aware of?
Nothing quite yet. I mean, I'm always scanning through the big movers for longs and shorts, but I'm pretty happy with my bots. I mean, they haven't been doing great over these last 7 days. I mean, still quite a few trades going back and forth, but everything's been pulling back over the last week, so the total values are slightly down as compared to where we were last week, but I'm still happy.
Are you still hitting close to that one trade an hour?
So it looks like on my Ripple bot, I am hitting the target of 1 arbitrage per 1 to 2 hours. I'm at 22 in the last 24 hours. Bitcoin, on the other hand, I only have 6 in the last 24 hours. So Bitcoin has not been quite as volatile as it had in the past, and is definitely not as volatile as Ripple is being right now. But I am still at 557 arbitrages in the last 35 days. So that should be about 1 every 2 hours.
Ripple's been running that 36 to 39 cent range right there. What are you set at right there on that, on those parameters?
So this one's not an infinity grid. This one is a spot grid, and it is between 27 cents and 45 cents.
What percent range are you taking profit at? Is it sitting at like a 0.2%, 0.3%?
This is at anywhere from 1/4 to 0.5% profit per grid.
Do you think you could set up another one that even tighten it down to smaller movements, that it would have a better benefit?
I mean, you could, but there's a fine line here where you're trying to ride the smaller the grid is, the less profit per grid you're going to get, not only because of the size of the grid, the difference in the prices, but there's also the transaction fee that's taken out of that. And so you almost want to try to spread out your grid as much as you can, while you're trying to find this sweet zone on the most amount of trades with the biggest grid possible to equal the most profit. Or if your grids are so small that the transaction fee eats all of it, it's no longer profitable. If that weren't true, the difference would be that you could just make it every 0.000001 of a dollar.
But it would eat up in all the fees.
Yeah, the fee is going to be more than what the profit for the grid would be. So you want to have a bigger grid, but you also want the grids to hit frequently. So there's a fine line you walk there.
Let me ask a little technical question on some strategy here. Would it be a valid strategy to layer your bots with our $100 challenge over the course of, say, 6 weeks? If one of our listeners would put in $100, say we'll keep it with Ripple and do the same spot, but you bump it up and down, say 2 cents, and that way it layers in where your bottom to start with was 37, and the next week it's 35, and the next week it's 34. So you've got at some point during this, as that moves through, you may be getting multiple bots hit at the same time, or would it be better just to reload all into one?
I would say it's better to reload all into one. And the reason for that is as you're spreading your grids, you're spreading your, as you're spreading your parameters, you're spreading your grids. So you're going to end up in a situation where your grids are too far apart and nothing's hitting.
Well, what if it's not that they're spread out, but you move them, you move up and down the scale of 37 cents being your midline target. So if you move down to 35 cents, you also move the upper range down the same 2 cents. But you're just working up and down that scale so that as that money flows through there, you're hitting it across multiple at the same distance in between.
I think I'd rather just use an infinity grid, something that'll change for me. Because in your instance, if it goes out the top and goes out the top of all of them, they're still all topped out. And if they go through the bottom, they're still bottomed out. And yes, you're increasing your range of where you can have a bot active. But with the infinity grid, there is no top. They can reset as it has volatility after it spikes up. Now, it's not going to have that same effect on the way down, but neither are the spot grids. So I'd rather take something that just adjusts on its own than to have all these different bots that I'm trying to manage together.
Well, I wouldn't think you'd have to manage it. I'd be interested in testing this and say run 7 or 8 bots on one crypto and just trying to keep it where you keep it in that sweet spot. As long as it's moving in there, you're making money on one of those bots, if not all of those bots at one time.
Yes, but the difference would be that if I have $500 in one bot that has a range that's staying in, versus if I have 5 $100 bots that all have different ranges and it's only in 4 of the 5, now I have $400 that I'm making grid profits off of instead of $500. So really, proportionally, it's just not equal. You're making less. And if they're spread out too far, I mean, obviously, there's a smaller and smaller overlap as you continue to extend your range to where there's going to be a smaller and smaller sweet zone where all of your bots are trading, and therefore not all of your money is doing anything.
That's a good point. But man, when it's in that sweet spot, you'd be wrecking that house.
Yeah, but at the same time, when you're in the sweet spot, it'd be the same as if you had all the money in one grid that was all working at the same time.
When you go to reload on those, does it change? How does it change by that additional money coming in?
So your entry price, on KuCoin at least, what you'll see is your entry price will just get a mark through it, basically calling it invalid because now your entry price has changed. I wish they would recalculate it. I don't know why they don't, but really your grids stay the same. The parameters are still set how they're set. You're just putting more money into it, so there's more of that asset trading per grid.
All right, so what are you going to do? You going to load into it or what?
Well, it won't let me short Gary. I don't know why. So I'm going to keep watching ETH, and if ETH doesn't do something I want, then it'll just sit on the sideline for this week.
Well, I think what you've talked me into with Gary is the next time it goes down to, 3 or 4 cents, I might throw another $10 into it. Maybe the only way for me to get out of the hole, just to play with. But for me, I'm kind of looking at, like I said, I like Avalanche. For me right now, it has just broke into one of my ranges here. So right around that $25 mark would be another entry for me that I'm looking at. Again, ADA at 53 cents wouldn't be a bad place for me to reload into and then stake it. Again, I'm hitting around 12% on in the staking that I've got in right now. And if there for some reason there's a little run up and near hits 520, that's where I'm going to go in and short and be looking to exit around $4.65. And those are my calls for the week. Again, we're not financial advisors. We are here for fun, although we're playing with real money. So if you choose to go in and make some trades, make sure that you get a lot of information about it and do your own homework. And that's all I got for today. I'm Al.
And I'm Craig.
Signing off.